The city park was filled with warm evening light. Families enjoyed the open space. Children ran near the swings, and soft wind brushed across the tall trees. Birds rested on branches and sang short notes that echoed around the field. It was a peaceful sight, the kind that made people forget their worries for a moment. On the wide central path, a young officer named Ravi walked with a trained canine dog named Bruno. Ravi wore a calm expression, but he stayed alert as trained officers do during patrol duty. Bruno walked with a steady pace beside him, ears raised and eyes sharp. The dog had a proud reputation in the unit. He followed orders quickly, never lost focus, and always protected people. That day was expected to be simple. The department had assigned Ravi and Bruno to a routine walk across the park. There was no sign of trouble. The weather was beautiful, the air was clean, and people moved around with friendly smiles. Ravi felt relaxed but still aware of everything around him. He glanced at children running near the flowers and older citizens sitting on benches talking with friends. He noticed vendors selling small snacks and fruit on carts. Every scene felt calm and familiar. Near a long wooden bench close to the fountain sat an old man named Imran. His clothes were worn but clean, and his hands held small pieces of bread. He tossed them gently toward a group of pigeons around his feet. His movements were slow, but his face carried a peaceful expression. His eyes seemed tired from many years of life, yet they also held a quiet warmth. Some children waved at him as they passed, and he smiled back at them in a kind and soft manner. Ravi looked at him briefly as he walked past. There was nothing concerning about the old man. He looked like someone who came to the park often. Many elders visited the park every day to enjoy fresh air. Ravi continued forward, but Bruno slowed his steps a little. The dog looked in the old man's direction with interest. Bruno did not show any sign of danger. His tail moved in a relaxed way, and he sniffed the air calmly. Still, Ravi tugged the leash lightly and encouraged him to keep moving. After a few minutes, Ravi noticed a small group of people near the far side of the park staring toward the old man. Their faces showed signs of worry. One person whispered to another, and their voices carried fear. Another person pointed directly at the old man with a trembling hand. The sight confused Ravi. The old man had looked peaceful. There was no strange movement, no aggressive action, no suspicious object in his hands. Ravi moved closer to understand what was happening. Before he reached the group, a middle-aged man hurried toward him. His steps were quick, and his voice shook when he spoke. He told Ravi that the old man was dangerous. He insisted that Imran carried something harmful. His words spread quickly across the park. People nearby stopped what they were doing and turned their heads. Some parents picked up their children and moved them back. A few others covered their mouths in shock. The sudden panic made Ravi feel pressure. When people believed someone was dangerous, even a peaceful place could turn tense. Ravi knew he had a duty to check the situation properly. Even if the old man looked harmless, he could not ignore a report. Responsibility was part of his uniform. He held Bruno's leash tighter and began walking toward Imran with firm steps. Bruno sensed the tension. His body straightened, and his ears pointed forward. His breathing became focused, but he did not growl. He simply observed the old man with curious eyes. There was something unusual in Bruno's calmness. Ravi noticed it but continued his approach. Imran looked up when he saw them coming. His face showed surprise, not anger. His eyes were gentle, and his hands froze mid-motion as the pigeons fluttered their wings. He slowly lowered his hands on his lap, confused by the people watching him with fear. There was sadness in his expression, as if he did not understand why he was suddenly the center of attention. Ravi raised his hand and asked Imran to stay seated while he checked the situation. His voice was steady, neither harsh nor soft. The old man nodded quietly. He looked hurt by the sudden suspicion, but he did not argue. He did not try to stand or hide anything. He simply waited. Behind Ravi, the crowd grew louder. Some people shouted warnings. Others demanded action. Their fear pushed them to speak without thinking. They urged Ravi to use Bruno to secure the old man quickly. The noise created more pressure on Ravi, making him feel torn between responsibility and his own sense of judgment. His heart beat faster as he tried to control the situation. Ravi decided to follow procedure. He took a step back, held Bruno's leash firmly, and gave the command for Bruno to move forward and alert. It was a command Bruno had followed hundreds of times during training. When this command was spoken, Bruno was supposed to step forward, stand in protective posture, and be ready for any threat. But something unexpected happened. Bruno did not move. He stood still. His head lowered slightly. His tail stayed down but calm. His eyes remained fixed on Imran with an expression Ravi had never seen during duty. It looked as if the dog understood something that none of the people saw. There was no fear in Bruno, no aggression, no confusion, only steady understanding. Ravi repeated the command, stronger this time. The crowd went silent, waiting for the strong police dog to follow orders. But Bruno refused again. He did not even lift a paw. He simply stood beside Ravi and watched the old man without any desire to attack. Gasps rose from the people around them. Many shook their heads. Some stepped back in disbelief. Canine dogs were trained to obey instantly. They did not ignore commands. They did not question orders. Ravi felt a wave of shock wash over him. He stared at Bruno, unsure how to react. He had never seen Bruno disobey even once. Ravi tried again, but Bruno gently leaned closer to him instead of moving forward. It was as if Bruno was trying to tell him something. The dog looked up at his handler with steady brown eyes that carried a message Ravi could not understand. Imran, still sitting on the bench, watched the dog with a soft and emotional look. His lips trembled slightly, and his eyes shined with a deep sadness only he understood. It seemed he knew the reason for Bruno's refusal. It seemed he understood the moment before anyone else did. A heavy stillness settled around the park. The wind slowed. The pigeons near the bench stepped back quietly. Ravi felt his heartbeat in his ears. People waited without speaking. And then only a few seconds later, something happened behind the old man, something no one had noticed earlier. It appeared so suddenly that the entire park turned silent. That moment would change everything. That moment would make every person in the park understand why Bruno refused the order, and within minutes, the truth would leave the entire park in tears. A sudden tremble passed through the ground behind the bench where Imran sat. It felt light at first, almost unnoticeable, but Bruno sensed it before anyone else. The dog lifted his head, ears turning sharply toward the sound. Ravi followed Bruno's gaze and saw something moving behind the old man, hidden near the thick bushes close to the fountain wall. For a moment, no one understood what they were looking at. The figure was small, curled up, and almost blending with the ground. Then, a soft sound came from that direction, a weak cry that made Bruno step forward without a command. His movement was gentle, not aggressive. He took slow, careful steps, as if he already knew what was hiding there. Ravi rushed forward as well, passing the old man while keeping a careful distance. When he looked closely, his heart tightened. Lying behind the bench was a small boy around 7 years old. His face was pale, and his arms were wrapped around his chest. His clothes were dirty and his legs trembled slightly as if he had been sitting there for a long time. He looked frightened and exhausted. The crowd gasped. Whispers spread quickly. Some covered their mouths. Others stepped closer but stayed quiet. The truth was unfolding, piece by piece. Imran slowly turned his head toward the boy. A heavy sadness appeared in his eyes again. His hands shook as he held his wooden stick and tried to speak. His voice broke as he explained that he had found the child alone earlier that day. The boy had been shaking with fear, unable to walk properly. Imran had tried to comfort him and feed him a little bread, but the boy refused to come out from behind the bench. Imran stayed beside him to protect him from strangers and loud voices. Before Imran could say more, the child cried again. Bruno lowered his body and walked closer, but with calm steps. He sniffed the air around the boy and gave a soft whine. It was a gentle sound, the kind he used only when he sensed fear or pain. Ravi knelt beside the boy. He removed his cap and placed it on the ground so the child would not feel threatened. Bruno sat right beside Ravi, his body creating a sense of safety. Slowly, the boy opened his eyes and looked at the officer. His small fingers loosened their grip on his shirt. Ravi asked him in a soft voice if he was hurt. The boy whispered an answer so quiet no one could hear, but the expression on his face said everything. He had been very scared, and he had been hiding behind Imran because the old man stayed calm and kind. Imran had protected him silently while others misunderstood the situation. The crowd, realizing their mistake, fell into complete silence. People who earlier shouted warnings now looked down at the ground, embarrassed and regretful. Some parents pulled their children close and whispered gentle reminders about kindness and patience. Ravi looked at Imran and his expression changed. He no longer saw a suspicious figure. He saw a tired old man who had stayed beside a frightened child without expecting anything in return. His eyes met Ravi's for a brief moment, and in that moment, Ravi felt deep respect. Bruno leaned close to the child and nudged his hand gently. The boy slowly lifted his fingers and placed them on the dog's head. Bruno stayed still and allowed it. His warm presence helped the child relax. It was a simple moment, but it touched everyone's heart. Ravi looked at the boy's arms and legs again. He noticed small bruises and dust on them. It seemed the boy had fallen earlier or walked through rough paths trying to hide from something. Ravi asked him his name. The boy whispered the name Ollie in a trembling voice. When Ravi asked where his home was, Ollie shook his head slowly and tears rolled down his cheeks. Bruno moved closer and pressed his head gently against Ollie's shoulder. The child wrapped his tiny arms around the dog and cried quietly. The sight pulled tears from many people in the park. They watched a trained police dog showing kindness when humans had shown fear. Earlier, Ravi stood up and looked toward the group of bystanders. His voice remained calm, but there was firmness in it. He explained that the old man had not been dangerous. He had been trying to help a scared child who refused to come out. The crowd looked ashamed. Some apologized quietly. Some wiped tears. One person who had earlier pointed at Imran covered his face in regret. Imran tried to stand up, but his legs wobbled. Ravi rushed to him and offered support. The old man thanked him with a faint smile. He said he never wanted trouble. He only wanted to keep the child safe until someone responsible arrived. He asked if Ollie would be taken care of now. His voice shook slightly as he spoke. Ravi assured him that Ollie was safe now. He thanked Imran for staying with the child even when others had misunderstood him. The old man nodded but did not show pride. His expression stayed humble, as if he had done nothing special. Ravi called for medical support and child protection officers. Within minutes, a small emergency team arrived at the park. They examined the boy gently. They asked him simple questions and gave him water and a soft blanket. Ali held Bruno's neck the entire time, refusing to let go. The dog stayed patient, sitting quietly beside him. The emergency workers asked Imran a few questions as well. They wanted to know how long he had been with the child and what he had seen. Imran explained everything in a calm voice. He had seen Ali sitting alone near the bushes, crying softly. Imran had offered him food and tried to help him stand, but the boy refused to move. He chose to stay hidden. Imran stayed next to him so he would not feel alone. The more Imran spoke, the more the crowd realized how wrong their assumptions had been. They saw an old man who had acted with kindness, not harm. People began to whisper apologies toward him. Some offered help, but Imran simply shook his head and said Ollie needed more support than he did. As the medical workers prepared to take Ollie for a proper checkup, the boy suddenly grabbed the front of Imran's shirt and cried. He did not want to be separated from the old man. The officers paused, unsure what to do. Bruno stepped forward again and nudged Ollie gently. The dog then looked at Imran and then back at the child. It was as if Bruno was telling the boy that Imran was safe and that he would still be around. Ollie slowly loosened his grip but kept looking at Imran with grateful eyes. Before Ollie was carried to the vehicle, Ravi allowed him to hold Bruno's paw for comfort. The dog sat calmly, letting the boy gain strength from his presence. When Ollie was lifted gently by the medical team, he waved weakly at Imran and Dot. The crowd watched the scene with heavy hearts. Many wiped tears as they saw how deeply connected the three of them had become in such a short time. The misunderstanding that had filled the park earlier now washed away, like dust in the wind. But one question still hung in the air. Why was Ollie hiding? What had frightened him so much that he refused to come out even when help arrived? Ravi planned to find out. The truth behind Ollie's fear was still unknown, and that truth would lead to a discovery that none of them expected. The events that had already touched the entire park were only the beginning. The evening sky slowly shifted from warm gold to soft pink as Ollie was taken to the medical vehicle. Ravi watched carefully while Bruno sat beside him, still alert but gentle. The park had calmed down, but the emotional weight of what had happened still hung in the air. People stood quietly, unsure how to react after their earlier misunderstanding. Every eye in the park now carried deep respect for Bruno and Imran. Imran remained seated on the bench, holding his wooden stick with both hands. His shoulders were low, and his eyes seemed lost in memories. He looked both tired and relieved. Ravi approached him slowly and asked if he needed help walking, but Imran shook his head with a small smile. Ravi sensed that the old man wanted to speak but did not know how to begin. He sat beside him, leaving space between them. Bruno lay down at their feet, stretching calmly as if he understood they were entering a quiet moment. Imran finally took a long breath. He explained that he had come to the park early in the morning. He liked watching the birds and feeding them a little bread. It gave him peace. Then he saw Ali sitting alone, shaking, trying to hide himself behind the bushes. Imran spoke softly, recalling how he slowly approached the child, afraid that sudden movement might scare him more. Ali had clung to the ground and refused to speak. He only looked at Imran with wide, frightened eyes. Imran tried asking where his family was, but the boy gave no answer. So the old man stayed beside him the entire day, making sure he did not feel alone. He even gave up his lunch so the child would have something to eat, but Ollie barely ate. Ravi listened closely. The kindness of the old man touched him deeply. Here was a person who had nothing himself but still gave everything he could to a frightened child. As the two talked, the crowd around them slowly thinned. Some people offered apologies before leaving. Some touched Imran's shoulders softly and thanked him for his kindness. Imran nodded politely to each of them but never showed pride. He simply continued watching the path where Ali had been taken. Minutes later, a member of the child protection team walked toward Ravi. Her expression was serious but gentle. She explained that Ali was stable, but he needed rest and security. She also shared something else that made Ravi's heart tighten. Ali had told them he had been running away from a group of older boys who tried to take his small bag earlier in the day. They had scared him so badly that he hid in the park. He thought that if he came out, they might find him again. That fear kept him silent when Imran found him. Ravi felt a wave of anger at the thought of a child being frightened like that, but he kept his voice calm. He thanked the officer for the update and said he would assist in finding the boys who scared Ollie. The officer nodded and walked back toward the vehicle. Bruno lifted his head and looked at Ravi as if waiting for the next step. Ravi gently placed his hand on the dog's head. He knew this case was far from over. A moment later, the officer signaled that they were ready to take Ali to the childcare center. Before closing the vehicle door, she asked Ali if he wanted to say goodbye to Imran and Bruno. The boy nodded quickly and reached out his hands. They brought Ali back for a moment. The child walked slowly toward Imran, holding a small blanket around his shoulders. When he reached the old man, He lifted his arms in a silent request. Imran's eyes filled with emotion as he hugged Ali openly. The crowd watching around them felt their hearts soften. Ali then turned toward Bruno the dog, stepped forward and pressed his head under the boy's arm. Ali hugged him tightly. He did not speak, but the way he held Bruno showed deep trust. It was the trust of someone who had found safety after a long day of fear. After a long moment, Ali was gently guided back to the medical vehicle. The door closed softly. The engine started. The vehicle moved away slowly, leaving a quiet trail of realization behind. When the car left the park, the last light of the sun dipped below the horizon. Street lamps began to glow. The park grew dimmer and calmer. Only a few people remained. Ravi stood up and looked around. The earlier chaos now felt far away, but the memory of it lingered. He knew he had to help Ali further. A frightened child deserves justice and support. He turned to Imran and asked where he lived. The old man answered with a tired voice, saying his home was a small room in a nearby neighborhood. His steps were not strong, but he insisted he could walk. Ravi offered to take him home safely. Imran hesitated, but when he looked at his weak legs, he agreed. People around them smiled warmly, grateful that the officer cared about the old man. Bruno walked close to Imran as if guarding him with every step. On their way out of the park, Ravi could not stop thinking about Bruno's refusal to attack. The dog had known something important. He had sensed safety around Imran and danger behind the bench. There was a deep intelligence in Bruno that went beyond training. Ravi gently looked down at him. Bruno responded with a calm wag of his tail. As they reached the gate of the park, a small group of children stopped playing and stepped aside to let Imran pass. They waved politely at him. One of them even offered him a small packet of biscuits. Imran accepted it with a smile and thanked the child softly. Ravi and Bruno walked beside him through the quiet streets. The night air felt cool and fresh. The streetlights cast long shadows on the ground. Every step they took brought them closer to discovering the full truth. Imran spoke slowly as they walked. He shared bits of his past, not with sadness, but with a sense of acceptance. He explained that he lived alone. He had no family left in the city. Most of his days were spent walking in the park or helping people when he could. Ravi listened with respect. The world sometimes misunderstood gentle souls like Imran. Today had proved that clearly when they reached Imran's house. A small old building with a low roof. Imran turned to Ravi and thanked him. He also thanked Bruno, bending down slightly to pat his head. Bruno leaned into the touch, showing affection in return. Before leaving, Ravi asked Imran if he had seen anything else earlier that might help them find the boys who scared Ali. The old man closed his eyes for a moment, trying to remember. Then he nodded slowly. He said that earlier he had heard footsteps near the bushes. He thought he saw 3 older boys running away swiftly. They looked nervous and kept checking behind them. Imran had not followed them because he was trying to calm Ali. Ravi noted the details carefully. This information would help. He assured Imran that they would look into it and make sure Ali was safe. Imran nodded gratefully and went inside his small home. Ravi and Bruno began walking back toward the station. The streets were quiet now. Only the sound of their steps echoed lightly. Ravi felt a strong sense of responsibility for Ali. He wanted to find the truth and bring safety to the child who had trusted him and Bruno without a single word. But as they walked, Bruno suddenly stopped. His body stiffened. His ears pointed toward a narrow alley on their left. Ravi turned his head, confused by the dog's sudden reaction. In the quiet darkness of the alley, a shadow moved. Bruno growled softly, not in aggression, but in alert. Ravi's hand moved toward his belt. His breath slowed. Something was there. Something connected to Ollie's fear. Something that would lead them to answers and possibly to danger. Ravi stopped walking the moment Bruno grew tense. The dog's body lowered slightly, his tail stiff, his eyes fixed on the narrow alley beside them. Ravi trusted Bruno's instincts more than anything. If Bruno sensed something, it meant there was something there. The street was quiet, and the lamps nearby flickered with soft yellow light. A cold wind passed through the empty road, making the moment feel even heavier. Ravi held Bruno's leash firmly. He slowly moved toward the entrance of the alley. His steps were careful and silent. Bruno walked beside him in perfect coordination, his ears turning with every sound. Ravi's eyes adjusted to the dim shadows. He saw a shape hiding behind a row of broken crates. The shadow moved slightly. Ravi raised his voice gently and asked who was there. There was no answer. Only a faint rustling sound came from behind the crates. Bruno gave a soft rumble, not aggressive, but alert. Ravi stepped closer until he was only a few feet away from the crates. Then a small figure stood up quickly. It was a boy around the age of 10. His clothes were loose and worn. His hair was messy, and his eyes looked tired but sharp. He stared at Ravi and Bruno with fear and confusion. Ravi relaxed his shoulders a little when he saw it was just a child, but he did not let his guard down. Something about the boy's look showed that he knew more than he wanted to say. Bruno's growl softened as he sniffed the air. The dog slowly tilted his head, showing both curiosity and recognition. Ravi lowered his tone and asked the boy to step forward. The boy hesitated, taking a small step back instead. Ravi spoke softly, telling him he was safe. He said Bruno would not harm him. The boy looked at Bruno for a long moment, then finally stepped toward them cautiously. His steps were slow, as if he was afraid someone might jump out behind him. When he reached Ravi, his hands trembled slightly. Ravi knelt down and asked his name. The boy whispered the name Samir. Ravi asked why he was hiding in the alley. Samir looked down at his feet and stayed silent for a long moment. Bruno gently nudged his arm, trying to comfort him. Samir finally spoke. His voice was low, but clear enough for Ravi to understand. He said he knew Ollie Ravi's. Eyes widened with surprise. He asked how Samir knew him. The boy explained that he and Ollie lived in the same neighborhood. They were not close friends, but they played in the same open ground sometimes. Samir continued talking. He explained that earlier that day, 3 older boys had tried to take Ollie's small bag. They pushed him and threatened him. Samir had seen everything from behind a wall. When he tried to help Ollie, the older boys turned on him too. He ran away because he was scared. He did not know what happened to Ollie afterward. When he heard police voices in the park, he panicked and hid, thinking the older boys had told someone lies about him. Ravi listened carefully. Everything Samir said matched Ali's story. It also matched what Imran had seen. Ravi asked Samir if he knew where the older boys lived. Samir nodded slowly. He pointed toward a group of old apartments a few blocks away. Ravi stood up. He placed a hand on Samir's shoulder and told him he did the right thing by speaking up. He assured the boy that he was safe. Samir's eyes softened a little. Ravi contacted the station and requested backup quietly. He did not want to scare Samir more. Bruno stayed close to Samir, sniffing his hands gently. The child slowly bent down and touched Bruno's head. It was clear he felt comfort near the dog. Ravi began walking with Samir toward the apartments. Bruno walked calmly on Samir's other side, guiding him like a silent guardian. The streets grew darker as they moved deeper into the neighborhood. Many houses had lights off. The sound of a distant motorcycle echoed now and then. When they reached the old apartment building, Samir pointed at the second floor. He said he often saw the 3 older boys entering that area. Ravi asked Samir to wait at a safe distance. Bruno sat with him, keeping watch. Ravi climbed the stairs quietly. The hallway was narrow and smelled of rust. A dim bulb flickered weakly above. As he reached the second floor, he heard laughter behind a closed door. It sounded careless and loud, the kind of laughter made by someone who did not expect trouble. Ravi knocked firmly. The laughter stopped. Whispering started inside. Someone asked who it was. Ravi announced he was an officer and asked them to open the door. There was hesitation. Then the door opened slightly, revealing a teenage boy with restless eyes. The moment he saw Ravi, his expression changed. Fear replaced boldness. Ravi asked if he had been in the park earlier. The boy tried to deny it, but his voice cracked. The other 2 boys appeared behind him, both nervous and pale. Ravi asked them about Ollie. Their silence told the truth. Ravi instructed them to step outside. He questioned them near the railing. They admitted that they had tried to take Ollie's bag. They did not understand how frightened he was. They were not proud of what they had done. They apologized, but their apologies felt late. Ravi did not raise his voice. He simply explained the seriousness of their actions. He told them a child had spent the entire day hiding in fear because of them. He warned them that their actions had consequences. The boys lowered their heads. Ashamed, Ravi radioed for the child support officer, informing them the boys had been found. The officer said they would handle the necessary steps. Ravi guided the boys downstairs. When Samir saw them, he stepped back behind Bruno. The dog stood protectively in front of him, his posture calm but ready. The boys apologized to Samir. Their voices were small and sincere. Samir listened but did not reply. Ravi told him he was brave for speaking the truth. Backup arrived soon. The older boys were taken for further questioning. Samir was asked if he wanted to speak to the child support officer as well. Ravi told him it was his choice. Samir nodded and agreed. He walked with the officer, but before leaving, he hugged Bruno tightly. Bruno leaned into him, giving silent comfort. After the children were taken care of, Ravi and Bruno walked back toward the main road. The weight of the evening pressed on Ravi's shoulders, but he felt relief too. They had found the truth. Ollie had not been in danger from strangers. He had been frightened by other children who acted without thinking. As they walked under the streetlight, Ravi thought about Imran. If Imran had not stayed with Ali, the child might have been lost, hurt, or alone for much longer. The old man had protected him with nothing but kindness. Bruno had trusted him completely. Ravi decided he would visit Imran early the next morning and tell him everything. He wanted the old man to know Ollie was safe. He wanted him to know that his kindness had changed a life that day. Bruno brushed against Ravi's leg, as if sensing his thoughts. Ravi smiled softly. The dog had been the true hero. His refusal to attack had revealed everything. As they neared the station, the city became quieter. The stars came out above them. The night air felt calm again. But Ravi knew the story was not finished yet. There was still one person who needed to know the full truth. The morning sun rose slowly over the large city park. Soft light touched the grass, the trees, and a small lake. It was gentle and warm, almost like the park itself was waking up after a long night. People began to arrive one by one. Some came for morning walks, some came for exercise, some came to enjoy the calm air. But on this morning, the park felt different. There was something in the air that everyone could feel but could not explain. It felt like something important was going to happen. Officer Sam walked across the open field with K9 Leo beside him. Leo moved with calm steps, tail low but relaxed. Sam had spent the whole night thinking about everything that had happened. He thought about the order he gave. He thought about Leo's refusal. He thought about the old man and the boy. He thought about how close he came to making a terrible mistake. He felt heavy inside, but he felt grateful too. Without Leo, things could have gone in a wrong direction. Today the department asked Sam and Leo to come to the park because many people wanted to meet the brave canine dog who refused the command. News of the event had spread across the city. People were touched when they heard how a trained canine trusted his own sense more than a wrong order. Everyone wanted to see the dog who protected an innocent man and a young boy. Sam looked at Leo and rubbed his head gently. Leo looked up with warm eyes. It was almost like he understood the whole situation. Dogs like him always seemed to feel human emotion. Sam whispered with a soft voice that carried his thoughts. He told Leo that he was proud of him and thankful for what he had done. At the center of the park, a small stage was set up. Chairs were arranged for visitors. A few reporters stood with cameras. Children waited with excitement to see the dog. Sam walked toward the stage with Leo at his side. The sound of people talking filled the air, but the moment they saw Leo, the whole crowd changed. They went quiet for a second, then warm applause filled the area. Leo stopped walking for a moment. His ears lifted, his eyes turned slowly across the crowd. He did not panic. He did not hide. He stood with steady pause and calm breath. The same calmness that helped him stop a mistake yesterday was now helping him face a large group of people. Sam guided Leo up onto the stage. A senior officer stepped forward. He had a kind face and a gentle smile. He welcomed the crowd and thanked everyone for coming. Then he began to speak about what happened in the park the day before. He explained the tense moment when Sam gave the command. He explained how Leo refused. He explained how that refusal saved the truth. Leo looked out at the crowd with quiet eyes. Some children waved at him. Some adults wiped their eyes because the story touched their hearts. It was rare for a trained canine to go against a command, but Leo did it for a reason. His instincts told him something was wrong. He trusted those instincts. And because of that, an innocent old man and his grandson went home safe. As the officer continued speaking, the old man and the boy arrived at the edge of the crowd. People moved aside gently when they saw them. The old man held the boy's hand, walking slowly but with a warm smile. The boy carried a small bag close to his chest. When Leo saw them, his tail began to move very slowly. He lowered his head. His calm eyes softened even more. The crowd watched as the old man and the boy walked toward the stage. Sam stepped aside to make space. The old man reached the stage and placed his hand on Leo's head. His hand shook a little, not from fear but from emotion. The boy knelt beside Leo and hugged him gently. Leo stayed perfectly still. He knew these two very well. He knew who they were. He knew they were safe and innocent. The old man began to speak. His voice was soft, but everyone could hear him. He told the crowd that Leo was the first one who saw his fear the day before. He explained how he was confused by the sudden call from behind and how he did not know what was happening. He said that Leo's refusal allowed him to explain everything, to show that he was not a danger, and to keep his grandson safe from panic. The crowd listened in silence. The old man lifted the bag the boy was holding. He opened it slowly. Inside was a thick rope toy made of strong fabric. It was bright blue. The boy held it up with both hands. He said he wanted Leo to have it because Leo saved them. The boy said he wanted Leo to have something special from him. Leo sniffed the toy. His tail moved faster now. He accepted it gently, holding it in his mouth with pride. The crowd smiled warmly. Some people clapped again. It was not loud applause. It was soft and full of respect. Sam stepped forward and placed his hand on Leo's back. He thanked the old man and the boy. He thanked the crowd for understanding how important Leo's instincts were. He reminded everyone that dogs like Leo did not just follow orders. They thought, they felt, they sensed danger and peace in ways humans sometimes could not. The senior officer then announced that Leo would receive a special recognition from the department, not because he disobeyed, but because he protected the truth. That statement touched every heart in the park. In a world where things often moved fast and decisions were made quickly, Leo slowed everything down and made sure the right thing happened. After the short ceremony, people formed a line to meet Leo. Children asked if they could touch him. Adults wanted to take pictures. Sam stayed close, guiding each person. Leo stayed gentle through it all. He enjoyed the attention, but his eyes always moved around, watching calmly like a true guardian. As the morning went on, the crowd slowly grew smaller. People returned to their lives, still talking about the brave dog who refused to attack an innocent man. The old man and the boy stayed a little longer. The boy played with Leo using the blue rope toy, laughing softly while Leo pulled on it with gentle strength. Sam watched the scene and felt something warm in his heart. He thought about how training taught him to lead Leo, but yesterday proved something more important. Sometimes Leo led him. Sometimes Leo showed the way when Sam was unsure. The bond between handler and K9 was not about control. It was about trust. When the event ended, Sam and Leo began walking back toward the parking area. Leo carried the blue rope toy proudly in his mouth. The sun had risen fully now, shining across the park. Birds flew across the sky. Trees rustled in the soft wind. Everything felt peaceful. Sam knelt beside Leo before they reached the patrol car. He held Leo's face gently. He looked into his warm eyes and told him that he was more than a canine dog. He was a partner. He was a friend. He was a guardian who had saved 2 lives by trusting his own sense. Leo pressed his head against Sam's chest for a moment. It was his way of answering. No words were needed. Their bond was deeper than anything spoken. As they drove away from the park, the blue rope toy lay beside Leo. The city moved outside the window. People walked, cars passed, and life continued. But Sam knew one thing for sure. Leo had changed something. He had shown that courage was not always loud. Sometimes courage was calm and gentle. Sometimes courage was refusing a wrong order to protect someone who needed help. And in the heart of the city, people would always remember the canine dog who refused to attack an old man and taught everyone that true strength came from kindness, instinct, and trust. The park may return to normal, but the memory of that moment lived on in every person who was there. And Leo, with his calm eyes and steady heart, he continued his duty as a guardian who listened not only to commands, but also to truth. The story of Leo stayed in the city forever, reminding everyone that real heroes could walk on 4 paws and carry a simple blue rope toy with pride.